Ah,
Well, hello everyone. Welcome to another episode of Sit Down by the Fire here with Eric and our very special guest. You can introduce yourself.
I'm goreaphope. I'm both. I don't know. I'm infamous with some people and famous with others. So
There you. Well, aren't we all? Aren't we all on YouTube?
yeah,
Some,
Um,
some maybe more so than others, though.
right. It,
so, um, you know, you have your channel name, goreaphope. Why don't you explain to people? Why don't you explain to people how you got the name?
um, I am a goreaphobic. There was actually a point. I don't know, say 5, 10 years ago, where it was like, well, first of all, for those of you who don't know what an agoraphobic is, if you watch a film or whatever, you see a movie of a person that had to come out of their house a long time, they had to have food brought to them and all this kind of stuff. Haven't lived in 2 years. That was basically me at one point. That's how I got it. I just took out the A and just called myself agoraphobe. That's basically it. I have recovered quite a bit, but that's kind of something you never completely get over.
Well, I don't think you really get any. I don't think you ever really get over any of your phobias. Like, for instance, I'm scared of bees and wasps and anything that has a anything that has a stinger and flies. Like, I'm staying away from you. So I don't think you ever really get over it.
Right.
So, I mean, I don't know, Eric. Yeah, Eric, what's something that you're deathly scared of?
For the longest time, I was horrified. I mean, absolutely horrified of snakes. I mean, oh my god, it was so bad that even if I saw a toy snake, I would be freaking out.
So basically, Eric is Indiana Jones.
You have no idea how many times I heard that.
Bats freaking out too. Bats. I had a really bad experience when I was like 14 years old with a bat. And ever since then, they've kind of freaked me out.
Yeah,
I can see that.
I mean, I could kind of relate a little bit, Eric, though, because there was one time I was on the toilet and I saw a snake, and
You saw a snake?
Yep, on the toilet.
In the toilet.
Around the toilet, around the bowl, and at that point, you never want to see a snake when you're sitting down taking a dump.
That's like
what kind of snake?
Yeah, that's a situation where you don't want to be in a hurry for anything. You know what I mean? You don't want to have to get up. Well, I mean, like, how many horror movies have we seen where that's the exact time where they don't even wipe their ass, they just pull up their pants and run or whatever.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah. Well, luckily it was just a garter snake, but still, you just don't want to see that, honestly. So I think I could definitely kind of relate.
Reminds me of this one video that I saw where a full-on python was being pulled out of somebody's toilet.
Right.
A full-on python.
Well, wasn't there was some sort of video that, like, this was in Florida, where some guy came downstairs to get his morning coffee, and there was a huge Komodo dragon in his kitchen.
Yeah, Komodo dragons. You do not mess with those. You do not mess with those guys.
No.
They will mess you up. Mm-hmm. And not only that, but if you get bitten by them, like, from my understanding, like, there's a lot of bacteria in their mouths, and so that even if you get bit, you will like where you got bit will get infected, and those guys can sprint up to like 12 miles per hour.
Damn.
Yeah.
So yeah, you do not mess with Komodo dragons.
Exactly. So you've had your channel for a couple years now, and you've grown quite very significantly. What advice would you give to people maybe just starting out with YouTube?
Well, I started in May 4th of 2021. I've been going about 2.5 years, but when you put it all together, I've probably done content for about a year and a half. Because I've taken breaks and I've left and this and that. When things are, sometimes you just have to step away, and especially sometimes it's better to do that than to get on and keep running your mouth in certain situations or whatever. It's just something you got to
Right.
learn from. But you know, uh, you just have to take it for what it is, man. And you have to try to mind your own business as much as you possibly can. You got to be you at the same time. Don't be a dick. You know what I mean? There's just a fine line.
Yeah, I think it's kind of one of the things that, like, at least all three of us have kind of learned that, it's inevitable on YouTube. If I can learn to talk, you're going to get trolls no matter what. But or people who don't decide they don't like you one day, and then, but you at least know when need to know when to fight the trolls and not fight the trolls. I would say, and just kind of more treat it as a circus, pretty much, because that's what YouTube is.
Yeah.
And Eric, you've been on YouTube the longest out of all of us. I think you can kind of agree with that a little bit. So,
Oh, definitely, yeah. Like you'll get trolls like who will start drama just for the sake of starting drama. Like there was this
Yeah.
troll who came onto one of my live streams who say, "Oh, Eric, you're not brushing your teeth and you're not showering." I'm like, dude, really?
Why you worried about it? Why you worried about it? I mean, is your life that boring where you have to worry about what somebody else is doing at all hours of the day?
well,
Yeah.
I would, if it was me, I'd probably be asking a troll, well, how do you know that? Is there a people somewhere?
Yeah. And that's what I said to him. I'm like, I am on a live stream. How in the world do you know what I smell like when I am on a computer screen?
I
Smell-o-vision,
didn't.
man.
Yeah, I didn't know your computer had smell-o-vision, dude.
Right.
Right? And yeah, and it was so funny. It's because my teeth were pretty white in that live stream, so it was pretty clear they were just trying to find things to be upset about. And yeah, there definitely are people like that where they purposely try to find things to be upset about just so that they can start drama just for the sake of starting drama.
Oh yeah. So you've talked about it before, at least on one of my favorite YouTubers. Shout out to Ocean Chick Films. Said that you're into music on one of her interviews. What type of bands like really influenced you as far as like maybe your songwriting and
Oh
you
man.
know?
That's what I did first and foremost, man. I was going to be a rock star. I was a front man. I'm 50 now, but at the time, man, I started by 86, 87, full time, training my voice and singing, and yeah, that's what I was going to be. But it came to a point where I got a little too busy and wasn't protecting myself, and kids started coming along, and I had to make a decision to be a dad rather than continue to follow that dream. Because from where I'm at in Indiana, you don't make it in music from here, so you have to leave. I decided not to leave my kids. I decided to be a father instead. But Zeppelin, Black Sabbath, early on, you're talking about Guns N' Roses, you're talking about the early '80s, stuff like that
Mhm.
got me. Early Metallica, all that kind of stuff. Mixed with, I'm actually an avid, diehard ballads fan as well.
Mhm. Fa- well, bonus question. Favorite. Okay. Favorite Black Sabbath singer. I mean, besides the big ones, Ozzy and Dio. I mean, I guess you got it. I'd probably say Dio is the best, but my favorite's actually Tony Martin.
Yeah. Well, Dio's like a freak of nature, man. As far as
Oh
vocals
yeah.
go, as far as voice goes, when you think about the base, the template for a heavy metal singer, who else do you think of besides besides maybe you got Rob Halford, you got You got Bruce Dickinson of Iron Maiden, and then you got Dio.
And then Dio.
Ozzy doesn't sing. Ozzy just kind of opens up his mouth and it comes out.
Unless
I've
it's
never thought of Ozzy as singing. He just special in that way. You have to go with Ozzy, man. If you're as old as I am, you have to go with Ozzy. But Dio is definitely the talented vocalist.
Well, Ozzy can sing. It just depends on which song. I mean, Changes is probably one of his best songs because he's actually singing.
Yeah, but he's so unique about the way he does it. It doesn't come out as singing. You don't hear him hit you don't hear him hit no
Right.
or nothing. He just kind of opens up his mouth and it just kind of comes out.
Right. Have you kept up with any songwriting?
Oh yeah, I still write here and there. I put some stuff out on my community post here a couple of months back. I put out some original lyrics and stuff, and a few. Basically, when you music with it, it's basically a poem. So I put up a lot of lyrics there. I always write. I can't sing anymore. I haven't been able to in years because of I've been smoking since 1988, and at one point I drank a lot, and I pretty much just destroyed my voice. So, and one time I was actually pretty damn good.
Well, I mean, you can always retrain your voice. I mean, look at Tom Kiefer.
I got a lot of scar tissue on it, so I would have to have that removed before I could even think about singing again like that.
Yeah, I know Tom Kiefer had some vocal issues, and now look at I don't know if you've heard some of his recent albums, but it's not with Cinderella, but it's just solo stuff. But he actually kind of, I mean, you could tell it's damaged because it's very raspy, but he still can sing pretty well, and
there's a right way and a wrong way to sing too. You know what I mean? There's a right way and a wrong way to use your voice, even if you do use that rougher type. For instance, Bryan Adams is better now than he ever was then.
Right. Well, no, I've been listening to a lot of, mainly because there's one person I would like to interview with, the Ken Tamplin Vocal Academy. Her name is Gabriella Gonchikova. I would love to interview her mainly because she's talented, and obviously there's the guy reasons too, because. But that girl can sing, and she has an amazing voice, and she's been classically trained by him for years, and she was even starting to lose her voice.
Ken Tamlin's got a good channel, man. He gives a lot of great advice, a lot of smart advice. I've watched quite a few of his shows.
Right. So
my favorite my favorite rock female singer of all time. Had to be a tie between you got Stevie Nicks for obvious reasons. Plus, she was very unique, and then you got Ann Wilson apart that I think was absolutely fucking excellent.
Mm-hmm. And Ann Wilson is good. I mean, it's amazing. It's amazing those. It's for me. It's actually amazing. What's even an interesting thing to look at with that band Heart. The Wilson sisters. A lot of sisters don't get along to begin with, and the fact that they've stuck together that long kind of shows their bond a little bit. And I know for a while there was two Hearts because they broke up for a little bit, but then now I think they are actually back together. So,
well, you got your '70s Heart, which was my favorite. And that was when I will give an unpopular opinion here. I always preferred Anne, as far as looks goes, in the '70s over her sister Nancy. I thought she was much cuter than Nancy. Of course, she got a little heavier and a little bigger in the '80s and shit, but or whatever. But in the '70s, I always preferred her in every way over her sister Nancy.
Yeah. Hey. So, obviously, you are in the horror community. You have a lot of horror films, but what's some films that people might be surprised that you like?
As far as horror or in general?
Well, not necessarily horror. Like maybe like something like It's like, wow, you like that movie?
Still Magnolias.
Good movie.
That is an excellent film.
So
It gets me every time. It's still fresh to me. I could name off. Well, I could probably name quite a few of them. But yeah,
So-
that's one that most people, considering who I am and what I do, they're shocked to hear that I love Still Magnolias that way. Also, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
Yeah. Funny you say that because we actually recently got to watch that in my film history class. But yeah, Jim Carrey is mostly known for doing comedies. But yeah, like for that being one of his few serious movies, I absolutely love that movie. And it's a movie where you really truly got to pay attention to it.
Yeah, it's the most unique love story that I've ever seen done, and it's done in such an honest way. It's so self-aware. You know what I mean? It knows what it is, and it does it really well.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Oh yeah, it is a good. No, it is a good movie. It's kind of one of those movies to me though. You have to be in that like mood to watch it. Like it's not a sad movie, but you kind of like, okay, I'm gonna watch this, you know. But
Right.
it is a good one.
Also, Boyhood. Boyhood's a great film too, and I think done so smart. It's actually done over the period of years that it's supposed to take place.
That
Which
was
is so
unique. That was unique. And
on Golden Pond. On Golden Pond, that's another one.
that is
love
a good
On Golden
one.
Pond.
That is a good
Tough.
one. Hey, no, I like.
I don't know if you're surprised or not because you've been on my channel enough to know that I kind of come forward with a lot of this kind of stuff. So you probably heard me mention some of these films before.
Yeah, well, I do like On Golden Pond. I mean, Henry Fonda, a well-deserved Oscar. So
Finally, yeah.
and his only Oscar at that.
Right. Then isn't that ridiculous?
Yeah. So
I mean what I say, it's it's better that they won an Oscar versus not winning one at all. Like, yeah, granted, it may suck that they didn't get other Oscars, but hey, at least that they got somewhere with it.
Like Sean Penn, when Sean Penn finally won his Oscar, it wasn't for the movie he should have won it for. I am a firm belief that oh god, what's his name? The other dude in Mystic River, god damn it, I can't remember his fucking name. Should have won the Oscar for that.
There's Kevin Bacon.
And then Leonardo DiCaprio finally won that one in 2016, I believe. It was the one where he cut open that bear or whatever it was.
Yeah. The remake of Man in the Wilderness, that movie, The Revenant.
Right.
Yeah, The Revenant. That was its name.
Which, by the way, if you guys want to see
it, after Titanic, Leonardo DiCaprio made a very, very intelligent decision. He got hooked up with Scorsese and Spielberg, and he decided to go that route, whether to keep following the heartthrob thing, because if he'd have stuck with that, we wouldn't be hearing from him right now. And a lot of people don't realize how early on he did what's Eating Gilbert Grape and how great that was. And most people thought he was special needs, but he almost fucked his career up by doing that lovey stuff. You know what I mean? So he made a smart decision. The first big, great decision he made was working with Spielberg. And then he got hooked up with Scorsese and he saved his career.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, definitely. Well, by the way, if anybody wants to see a better version of The Revenant, watch with Richard Harris, Man in the Wilderness.
Good.
Better movie. And honestly, The Revenant, yeah, it's good, but it's just, I don't know if that was really the movie that I felt that Leonardo should won his Oscar for. I mean, he was good, but
the Basketball Diaries, maybe. Or,
right.
What's Eating Gilbert Grape? I mean, that is just unreal fucking performance. He did that at such a young age, man. And he was under so much pressure. I mean, look at the people he was acting beside. You know, Depp was starting to come into his own and really starting to come into his knowing what he was doing. And here was DiCaprio, just this little kid that puts on this fucking performance that is just unreal.
Right. Um, you've also talked in the past your history with wrestling and everything. Met any big wrestlers or anything like that, or maybe
Well,
had a
yeah.
chance?
I worked with, as a matter of fact, I worked a match. Of course, you know this in April of 2001 with Nick Roberts. I also worked a tag team match with the Bushwhackers. I've met. Now you're talking about older guys. These are guys that were coming through the independents, which is where I was at like the twilight of their career, right? People like Greg Never Valentine, Bruce Beefcake, King Kong Bundy. Met him a couple times. Oh, geez. Captain Lou Albano right before he died. People like that, yeah.
Um, so, well, that's really cool. I mean,
Oh, Jim Duggan.
Jake,
Oh,
which with Jake the Snake. So I'm so glad he's clean and sober now, and like the stuff that he went through. Like, oh my gosh, like
well,
I'm not really getting religious, but like, if you don't believe there's a God out there, like somebody was definitely watching out for Jake there, because oh my gosh, I mean, the stuff he went through to.
right. Well, he was so screwed up, dude, that in 2001 when I did that match with him, he held up the promoter before the show started and said, "If you don't get me a fifth of 100 proof peppermint schnapps and the gram of crack, I'm not doing the show." True story.
God,
I had to work
God,
him that night under those conditions. He
God.
didn't come off like he was fucked up, but he had to. But you know what I mean?
Hmm.
I watched him sit back there and smoke the whole goddamn gram
Gosh,
before the match.
yeah. Um. So, going back to your music stuff, have you kept in contact with the old band? Are we going to hear like I'm on a mission from God to get the band back together?
No, no, because I'm just like I said, I have to take care of my voice right and all that kind of stuff. I would never be quite what I was. It would take too long to get it back together. I worked a lot of time and a lot of years of getting to that point where I was at, and I would not accept anything less now. And it's just not going to happen. It's a dream I had to let go. Like for when I decided to be a dad rather than keep following that, I was so brokenhearted that I couldn't even listen to music for months. I couldn't listen to it.
Well,
I threw away all the old demos, all that stuff, so I don't even have a piece of history of it anymore. I just that's what I am. When I close a chapter on something, I have to completely close it.
right. I mean, hopefully some of the old bandmates have some of the original demos. So,
Those guys, who knows? With those dudes, who knows? My best friend Shiloh, he was the guitarist, and he wasn't like a guitar virtuoso, but he had this ear that was unreal, man. I've never seen anyone have an ear this good where he could hear and immediately be able to play it. That is such a skill. He had big fat fingers, so of course playing a six string, um, was rough for him to learn how to do because most big guitar players, they have small hands, and he had big fat fingers, and it was hard. You know what I mean? So he worked really hard to get there. So he was never Randy Rhoads or anything, or a Hendrix or anything like that. But he had this ear that was just you can't teach that. You know what I mean?
right. I mean, a lot of like I think Johnny Cash was taught like that. He knew by ear immediately at least what sounded good, what didn't sound good, and um, yeah, just kind of a skill you have or you don't have, honestly. So,
Yeah,
And
pretty
hey,
much.
most of your some of your biggest musicians of all time, you realize they came and read music?
yeah, exactly. I mean,
Yeah, and that is rather interesting because the first thing that would come to my mind, well, the first thing that would come to anybody's mind, you would just assume that because they are a musician, you would just assume that they already know how.
Most don't,
well,
especially in rock.
well, look at a lot of the musicians now. Like a lot of times they make the bands that are actually the rock bands that are actually still popular right now are ones that can actually play.
Right.
And we're talking newer bands. Like I mean, despite them being basically Led Zeppelin 2, Greta Van Fleet, they can actually sing. They can actually sing. But then, like their biggest criticism, people were like, they sound like Led Zeppelin. I'm like, is that a bad thing? That's, you know,
Right.
I mean, well, Goreaphope probably remembers this more than we do, but they were complaining about that with Kingdom Come, that they sounded like Led Zeppelin. So
Yeah, that's exactly who I was thinking about with Kingdom Come in the 80s. Exactly. That's exactly who I was thinking of. Because they were known as a Led Zeppelin ripoff. And that was at a
yeah,
time where that wasn't exactly the best way to be known, because Zeppelin was just coming off the late 60s and all through the 70s. So it was almost like sacrilege to do that at the time.
yeah, and even Mammoth WVH, Wolf Van Halen, his band. I do like the band, but Wolf's biggest problem is he is not a lead singer.
Right.
He's just like his dad. Eddie was better as a background singer, and that's why he got David Lee Roth and Sammy Hagar, and even Gary Sharon.
Well, the most important thing to have as a lead singer is it's not a great voice. It's being able to be a front man, being able to have that charisma, being able to draw the land. Like another one of my favorite films of all time, in my opinion, is Almost Famous. And they really tap into that. You know what I mean? It's much more important to have that swagger than it is to have the great voice. Like you just mentioned, David Lee Roth. David Lee Roth was not a great lead singer. He was
No,
more of a production baby. He was more of in the production room. But you take Sammy Hagar. Sammy Hagar was a great singer. But if you put them side by side, frontman wise, you don't have any comparison.
well, that's one of the reasons why I think that Freddie Mercury is probably one of the greatest frontmen ever, probably the greatest frontman ever, because he was a showman. And I mean, yeah, and he was. I mean, they didn't really go into it much in the movie, but he was classically trained. So not many not many rock singers were not many rock singers were classically trained as an opera singer. So
Sebastian Bach was of Skid Row, but yeah, not too many.
yeah, well, Sebastian Bach has a lot of other problems. So
Oh yeah, definitely. So we mentioned Freddie Mercury, and the movie briefly was mentioned. But what do you two think about the movie like that was made about him?
Oh, Bohemian Rhapsody. I
Yeah.
thought it was a really good film. I'm also a big fan of Coal Miner's Daughter with Sissy Spacek. I've got some really good biopic too.
Yeah, and the crazy thing is, even Mike Myers has a role in it. And at first, I was like, "Who in the world was he?" But apparently, he plays the manager, which is so crazy to think. It's because that I had no idea that even was Mike. That even was Mike Myers, and I'm like, "Wow!" Like he was unrecognizable, and that was like his first mainstream role in a long, long time.
I do like the line that he says. I do like the line that he says in the movie. Nobody's going to be headbanging to Bohemian Rhapsody in their car.
Right. Well, look,
But
he had Wayne's World. Yeah. It's a little bit of haha there. Well, I mean, you look at Pee Wee Herman. I hadn't seen him in years. He's been through all that bullshit. Next thing you know, he plays a great role and does a great job in Blow, which is another kick-ass film. But Pee Wee Herman does excellent in that.
Mm-hmm. What I like, as far as Bohemian Rhapsody, I did like it. I do get people's complaints, but like, it's like the movie that you guys wanted to see. No way is Hollywood ever going to do that movie, because they wanted to see all this other stuff, and I'm like, the movie that you guys are describing would be NC-17, because
what kind of movie are you talking about?
They wanted to see, like, a lot of people who complained about Bohemian Rhapsody were like, oh, well, they wanted to see, like, Freddie's parties and more Freddie's parties and his antics and everything. I don't know. Like, I'm like, no, I don't want to see that. Like, I just want to see the music. And, it was a good movie. And, Rami Malek, well-deserved Oscar. So.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. And he was not their first choice. Their original choice was Sacha Baron Cohen. As weird as it sounds, I can see it. It's because Sacha Baron Cohen actually really does look a lot like him.
My thing is, Sacha Baron Cohen would have done a very interesting job, but Remy Malek, I don't know if Sacha Baron Cohen could really capture Freddie. Remy Malek had that verisimilitude with Freddie Mercury. Like, you actually believe that they used that they resurrected Freddie Mercury almost, so
he had that swagger. He had that strut and that swagger like Freddie Mercury.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, one of the things I always thought was cool about you, how how you wear your bandanas on your arm and your head and everything. What gave you the idea to wear the bandanas on your hands?
This is right here. I'm a wrestling enthusiast. Randy Macho Man Sapp.
There you go. But as we talked about, we've been talking mainly about music on here. Which, hey, music and film and everything, they all go together because
Definitely. There are some movies out there like where the music changes everything. Like case in point, Star Wars, Jaws, Halloween.
So obviously, there are still some bands that made it in the 80s that are still popular today, but what do you think is one of the most underrated bands of the 80s that you're like, man, people need to talk about them more?
Oh man, there was quite a few of them actually. There's one particular that that a lot of people probably wouldn't agree with me, that they called a hair band, and they weren't necessarily a hair band. I thought wrote and played very, very good music at times, which was Warrant. I think Jenny Lane was a great front man. He had a great voice, and he played really well.
Yeah, I actually no, Warrant was good. I do like Warrant. I actually even have reached out to Bobby Jean Brown to interview her. I hope I get that interview because, oh my gosh, she is very vocal in her interviews sometimes. And
if you that latest stuff that she's talking about, where they are insinuating who had raped Janie, that blew my mind, man.
I've the only recent interview I saw of her is when she became a born again Christian. So, but I'll have to look into that. Bobby Jean,
there's books wrote about it, or she wrote a book about it, and someone else wrote a book about it, stuff like that, where she pulls it down to two people basically, and she basically insinuates who she knows it was. It will blow your mind. So check it out.
Dirty Rocker. But definitely read the book Dirty Rocker Boys, because if you ever read that book, oh my gosh, I mean, the stuff that she said in that book, I'm actually surprised that we were talking about Leonardo DiCaprio. What she said about Leonardo DiCaprio in that book, I'm actually surprised he did not try to sue her for defamation, because oh my gosh, they dated after Titanic, and apparently Leonardo DiCaprio was very excited that he was dating the cherry pie girl.
Oh, I bet he was. She was mildly attractive at the time. I mean, let's face it.
Yes, mildly. Yeah, come on.
Mildly.
And she still looks good to this day. But anyway, so Leonardo DiCaprio, they were, so after the after party, they went to the hotel room, and she basically insinuated that Leonardo DiCaprio has a tiny pecker.
Ow.
and said that he basically said it was the worst ever.
Ow. Wow. So basically, she said that Leonardo DiCaprio sucks at sex.
Yes.
He was still a boy at the time, too. You know what I mean? That's kind of an unfair comparison. Plus, I'm sure he was a little intimidated so to speak. So that might have made the poor little fellow, shrink up to size a bit.
And maybe a little too drunk too, because keep in mind this is the after party after Titanic. So
Think about it. He was still young, and throughout the early '90s, she was known as there was a reason why she was known as a cherry pie girl. So I'm sure he was even being Leonardo at the time, getting
yeah,
famous and stuff. I'm sure he was a bit just I don't know, taken by the whole thing. Like he couldn't even imagine.
right, right,
Yeah, I mean, heck, like the Titanic movie, like, is what made Leonardo DiCaprio famous in the first place. Like,
Right.
I mean, like, yeah, like he did do Critters 3, but at that time, he wasn't famous. And on top of that, Critters is more of a movie where it has like a cult. It's more of like a cult film.
Right.
hmm
Yeah. He also did be a time where there for at least a season or so. He also did Growing Pains with Kirk Cameron and all them too.
right.
Yeah, Kirk Cameron. I definitely do know about him, but I don't want to get too much into him. So
Yeah, he kind of went a little crazy, didn't he? Sort of.
yeah,
Yeah,
from what I saw, yeah, but I don't really want to get into
Right.
the
Right.
why though.
The whole
he's
religion
just
thing. Yeah.
kind of he's just an interesting fellow. Let's just say.
Came up with
He
judgmental.
has views that people will disagree with. That's all that I
It's
am
Yeah,
going
fine to
to
have your
say.
views. It's fine to have your views and your opinions. It's when you start shoving them down everybody's throat is when they become a problem.
yeah, exactly. Like like honestly, my thing is like, hey, you live. I mean, I guess I'll just leave it at this. I'll follow the advice of Roger Waters in The Wall, despite hey, leave them kids alone. So,
Right.
um, but so no, that was basically all the questions. But what I always liked about your channel is you're very informative. You actually know your stuff, and despite having issues with people, you seem to go very quickly and change your name, change your name, changing your name to Black End or whatever it was. But
Blackens. That was my blackened
yeah,
point. Yeah. That was after falling out with a couple people. One in particular, which you mentioned earlier, that I don't even talk about. They don't exist anymore to me. But because they personally tried to destroy me and destroyed all of my hard work just over a disagreement, which I think is petty as hell.
oh
Oh,
well,
But
big time,
I
yeah.
got past that. I got
well,
past. I got past that. I'm not worried about it. And during that moment, that couple of weeks, I was in my blackened state. When I got through with it, I went back to goreaphope.
yeah, well, and well, I mean that goes back to the a great book, The 48 Laws of Power. I believe it's number 5, one of my favorite ones. Your reputation is everything. Guard it with your life.
Oh, big
Right?
time, yeah. It's because once your reputation is ruined, it could take years to fix it, and even worse, you may never be able to fix it.
Right.
Yeah, well, I mean, look at I
I
mean,
rebounded well though.
yeah, well,
I
look
I,
at
I rebounded incredibly well, which means two things. It wasn't damaged that much because people see when it comes right down to it, people see a lot more than people give credit for. People can see through bullshit a lot better than what people think they can. And if you know me and you've been around my channel, you know me. You're not going to get anything but me. You're going to get me 100% of the time. If I disagree with something and it's shoved in my face, I'm going to let you know about it. If it's not shoved in my face, I'm going to let things, just kind of smooth out. Real. That's the difference, Bug, man.
yeah,
People know that I'm real and they know that what I say, I mean, what I mean, I say, and what I say, I mean, type thing. And they know that I'm a good man and I have integrity. That's the difference. That's why I
right.
rebound.
And one of the things too is I think it's obvious that you and me seem to have the same sense of humor, which gets you in trouble a lot on YouTube. Very dry, sarcastic, and I think my favorite type of humor is just the brutal sarcastic. We're like, oh my gosh, you know, I don't even understand like how you can't really go into this world without without sarcasm, because you kind of need to.
Yeah, it's just like some of the funniest shit you'll see or hear on a movie or a film or whatever is the shit that you don't see, the shit like that leads you up to it, and then you just hear it in the background. You don't even have to see it because that theater of the mind takes you to an even funnier place than if you did see
Mm-hmm.
it.
Yeah,
Theater of the mind's everything.
but it's. I mean, I guess that. And going back to one of the questions, just one, as far as YouTube advice, that's one that I would just say, you know, you're gonna have falling outs with people. Eric's been on YouTube the longest out of all of us. You've definitely had your falling outs. Some
Oh,
very
I
public.
did big time. But to make myself clear, the falling outs never were my fault. It always was their fault. And
Yeah.
and I'm not saying that just to make me look good. I'm being brutally honest. You know, uh, like after fully analyzing the situation at hand, it is pretty clear from the evidence it was never my fault.
Well,
It was always their fault. Like they would argue with me over petty shit, like over the Halloween movies, over Spider-Man No Way Home. It's like, listen to how petty that sounds. So, like to start arguing with me over a guy wearing spandex and over a guy with a William Shatner mask.
well, the funny thing is, as movie fans, we all have those movies that we're extremely passionate about. But
One way or the other.
even
Yeah.
then there's some fans that just go way too far. It's like, come on. I mean,
And those
There's
are
no reason to get angry about it. Yeah.
well,
yeah,
and
like basically it's fans like that really remind me of the ending of Scream 5.
Right.
Scream 5, I feel like, is like, now, of course, I'm not saying that all toxic fans like are going to go around killing people. I'm not saying that, but I'm like, you
depends
know,
on the fan.
but that is an example of a fan taking things way too far.
Yeah, it's
Right.
not about the film or about that. It's about what's going on in that person's head. You know what I mean? You never can
Yeah,
tell.
exactly. Like, if you're willing to take it so far, like where you're willing to allow it to utterly destroy your life, and like where it's going to destroy your relationships that you have, like at that point you just need therapy.
Right.
At
Or,
least.
well, either that or just, take a. I mean, it's perfectly fine to take a break from YouTube for a little bit. Just take a month off. Take a few months off
Reinvent
and
yourself.
just, I mean, Eric, I think I can't remember. I think you've taken long hiatuses on YouTube before because you just needed it. So
Yeah, it's because of personal reasons. And what I've done as of recently, if I don't have time to do videos like say college or whatever, what I think I did like was pretty intelligent. What I did, I would pick a ton of public domain movies, and then I would schedule said movies on my channel throughout the whole entire semester. And this recent semester, it actually helped me out significantly because of those public domain movies. I gained 1,000 new subscribers. I'm like, heck, I better keep this up even when I am not in a school semester.
right,
Right.
Well, and that even inspired me to do something, because I want to do something else, obviously on the channel besides sit down by the fire. Where, you know what, I want to do something that nobody's done before on YouTube. Show public domain movies, but sort of treat it like a Elvira or Mystery Science Theater show.
Right.
Nobody's ever done that before on YouTube, and I don't understand why, but there's a first for everything. And then the great thing is, because they're public domain, then I can sell them.
Yeah, you legally can. If it's public domain, yeah, you
Yeah.
absolutely can.
And
that's interesting because I was told now Night of the Living Dead is it's public domain, right? And has been because they didn't copyright it correctly.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know that story, but someone told me about 6 months ago that they actually showed it. They were doing a picture-in-picture watch party of it, and that they got a copyright strike because of that for some reason. That blew my mind. I was like, how the hell is that possible?
Well,
and it's crazy because I had the same thing. Like, I know that Satanic Rites of Dracula, one of the public domain Dracula movies, like the Hammer did. I was trying to do a live stream of that, but then Warner Brothers did a copyright claim on it, and then because of that, they got the video blocked like throughout the whole entire world. I'm like, are you kidding me? It's public domain.
Well, to be fair, Warner Brothers is notorious for copyrighting YouTubers' videos. Like, yeah. Well, Warner Brothers, especially Warner Brothers, they copyright claimed a guy because he had a poster of Batman.
That is
that.
Like, he bought the poster. You guys already got your money, depending on where he bought it. But
was he doing just showing it? Was he just showing it off, or was it in the background, or what?
It was in the background, and they copyright claimed it, saying that
they don't got a leg to stand on for that because he's not promoting that poster at all. He's not talking about Batman. He's not even talking about it. It's something he owns.
You know what I mean? Honestly, I would say at that point, even if you cannot afford a lawyer at that point, any lawyer is going to take that case. Yeah. Like, if for a poster, like, I mean, and any reasonable judge, let's say, will side with you for that, and right. Warner Brothers would have to pay you. Honestly, I mean, at that rate, you just ask for the copyright money because. Just sue Warner Brothers for the $75,000. I mean, that's pocket change to them, but
that doesn't even fall under fair use. That's not even fair use because you're not even using it.
Exactly. So I don't know. Warner Brothers is notorious. I know recently didn't a mutual friend of ours, the 406 Boys, they got a copyright claim for showing Night of the Living Dead for the music, but even that doesn't hold up because George Romero used stock music, so the music was already public domain.
So because of that, they shouldn't have gone a copyright claim on it.
And because I obviously haven't seen all the versions of Night of the Living Dead, but I'm pretty sure all of them mostly have the same score, right?
From what I've seen, yeah.
They have that stock music, and then a little bit of like the beginning music and stuff like that. Part of that was done by Carl Hordman, which is the one that plays the husband, the husband and wife, and then another part of it was the stock music they used in a 1950s sci-fi movie. I can't remember the name, but they used
wasn't it? Was it? But yeah, a lot of it was just stock music they used, and so, yeah, and then you even got a copyright claim, Eric, for showing Santa Claus Conquers the Martians.
I had the exact same thing happen. I'm like, that movie's public domain.
Which I want to know. I want to know what studio is actually claiming ownership of that song, of that movie, because that's a pretty bad movie, but fun.
It is.
I've heard of it.
From my
Well,
understanding, it's the first movie that introduced Mrs. Claus, and I mean, it's the movie that first introduced Mrs. Claus, as far as
well,
my understanding goes.
Okay.
well,
Mhm.
well, Gorfo, maybe that's something that you could do. I know you already scheduled some Christmas stuff, but maybe you could do a live reaction to Santa Claus Conquers the Martian.
I will definitely search it up and give it a look. When was it made?
64.
Like the 1960s, I believe.
Yeah. And then you could do a double feature. You could do a double feature with Santa Claus versus the Devil.
Man, I
Which,
did.
Wait,
Okay, yeah, I'm definitely curious about these shows.
well, that one is pretty. That one is funny because, first of all, Sam, that one is. Oh my gosh. Like Eric, you definitely need to do that one live for Let's Watch a Movie. Is Santa Claus versus the Devil, because I would love to see your reaction to some of the stuff in that movie. Fun fact, my aunt actually won a contest because that's been a Christmas tradition for us for a while. After you kind of need to make sure the kids aren't in the room when you're watching it. Not to say it's a bad movie, but it might like ruin the mystique of Santa Claus for the children. So
Yeah.
like make sure the kids are older when you watch it. But when we were in high school, we watched that movie every year, and my aunt actually won a contest because that was the question. Like, what's a traditional Christmas movie that you guys watch every year? And so basically, here my aunt said we watch Santa Claus versus the Devil, and
which I can't believe that that's even a movie. It sounds so absurd.
so yeah, so
Right.
here's everybody picking. Oh, every year we watch It's a Wonderful Life, A Christmas Story, Christmas Vacation, Elf.
The Grinch.
Yeah, yeah.
And then
So
someone comes along and says Santa Claus versus the devil.
yeah, so she automatically won after that one. So, but no, I mean I mean, I would say definitely check those out because oh my gosh, I mean, and it's just one of those movies has to seem to be believed. But no, I mean the copy. I mean, I've even heard of like the one thing that's going to be interesting is when people start uploading the Mickey Mouse stuff next year because Mickey Mouse goes public domain.
Well, specifically the very first appearance.
Right, and that's
Very.
gonna be interesting if the House of Mouse even like what is Emperor Iger going to do with that one?
I mean,
Like,
legally. Excuse me, but yeah, legally he can't stop people like from putting it on YouTube or selling it on DVD, since that Steamboat Willie itself will be public domain. But what he can do is that, say, if people have the name Mickey Mouse on it, he then could come after them like with the trademark law.
you know, somebody just contact the band. Somebody contact the band Rat since their original name was Ricky Rat, and just say
Mickey Rat, yeah.
yeah, or yeah, or just call him Ricky Rat or Mickey Rat, and just say no. It was an ode to the band Rat, which Disney then. Well, that's why they changed their name because Disney came after them, saying that's trademark infringement. Like, no, a rat is a different animal than a mouse.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
They may be similar, but they're not the exact same.
But
That's
no,
like
I mean,
people trying to sue you because you call your movie Bat, or like say for instance the movie The Bat, with Bela Lugosi.
Yep.
Like the people that made that trying to sue the people that made a Batman movie or something or whatever. You know what I mean? You just can't do that. You don't own that work.
Exactly.
right. Well, even at that though, if you actually do your research on Batman, Batman was pretty much already a ripoff of multiple
Well,
characters.
no,
Yeah.
Like
Bat,
there's a ripoff of Zorro.
Well, there, I see what you're coming from, but yeah, if you actually do your research, I mean, there's the movie The Bat Whispers.
Yeah, I
Um,
had that wrong. The Bat actually has Vincent Price and Agnes Moorehead. The Devil Bat is the one
Oh.
Logos. Sorry.
right, and then there's even and then one of the things that, and then like there's even a comic book that was written in the like 1934 called The Black Bat, which is basically Batman. So Batman, if you actually do your research, was already pretty much a ripoff, but back then, like everybody was stealing from each other, you know. So,
Well,
but
I mean, look at the music. Like, for instance, the Brat Pack with Sinatra, and all through that era, especially in the country music, everybody was doing everybody else's songs. And if one song was covered, everybody else in that genre covered it too.
oh
Like, for
yeah,
instance, with you had Sinatra, you had Elvis Presley, and 10 other people doing My Way within like a 5 or 10 year
yeah,
period.
yeah, but then look which one lasted. Then since the Sinatra one has always lasted the longest. So at the end of
Oh
the
yeah.
day, the public decides which ones they like better out of anything. So, but like, yeah, it's going to be interesting because I think even next, is it this year or next year, Eric, where Popeye becomes public domain?
He
That's
becomes
cool.
public domain here pretty soon, but yeah, man.
Purple
So
films do too,
as
don't
far
they?
as I know, the last live action film we got of him was one with Robin Williams like 40 years ago. So when he becomes public domain, legally somebody else could make a live action Popeye film.
That was a damn good Popeye, wasn't it? You couldn't have dreamed of picking a better person to play Olive Oil, could you? Or
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, like the cast for that
Joey,
movie was spot on.
yeah, that
yeah.
was good.
Oh
I
yeah.
mean,
Joey DeWall, yeah.
that was good. And that set is still there.
He's large. Yeah. Joey DeWall.
Yeah. Um,
She's actually a
which
much better actress than what people gave her credit for. She was actually pretty good.
she was a good actress. It's just that I mean, that's kind of what alcohol does to you. Kind of ruins your career because that's actually what's not talked about too much with the Stanley Kubrick thing. Like, yeah, Stanley Kubrick did do her wrong, but she also showed up drunk multiple times on set. And
Well,
Stanley
he treated
Kubrick,
everybody the same, basically. Look how much he hassled Jack Nicholson. He hassled him in a way
oh,
he'd make him do the same shot over and over again, like 84 times, and then decide to use take two. You know what I mean? So he didn't
right.
just single her out necessarily. The only person that he actually made Scatman Crothers cry during the shooting of that movie. The only one he didn't
Oh,
fuck with like that was his little boy, Danny.
right.
That's
No,
just
I
who it
mean,
was.
no, so that I mean, at least I don't know, Eric, you've made movies before, and what's the most number of takes that you've done so far?
Hmm.
No Kubrick,
Well, my
no
films have
Kubrick
been a
club.
little bit different because they are so low budget, and the actors have been willing to do it like for no charge, and finding somebody to do that for no charge is really hard.
Right,
Yeah.
And because of that, I really don't want to piss them off too much.
right.
Now, if I was under his situation where it's a studio film and the actors are getting paid, then it would be easier, like for me to get away with doing the multiple take thing.
There was a method to that, though. He wanted Nicholson to get into that state that he was in. That's why Nicholson comes
He
off
did.
over the top, is because he had done the same goddamn take 85 times. You know what I mean? Anybody'd be going, and then
Hmm.
Crazy
use the
then,
second
but
one, you know.
right, yeah, and because of that, it only added to his character.
Right. Well,
I love him being over the top. I thought it was
well,
perfect.
just to think, the original people that they wanted for that role, of Jack Torrance, they wanted De Niro, Harrison Ford, and Robin Williams.
Robin
And
Williams,
then,
that would have been interesting because, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think Robin Williams has ever even done a horror film.
well,
He
he
did
did
1 Hour Photo, and he did
Insomnia.
Insomnia and 1 Hour Photo, but he was a quieter, unhinged. He wasn't allowed, over the top.
I think it would have
He
been.
plays that creepy quiet really well. He played creepy quiet really good.
But Harrison Ford would have been interesting just seeing him play Psycho.
I never seen that.
That would have been interesting to see him do that. I mean,
Robert De Niro, like, he is a great actor, but like, for whatever reason, I just don't see Jack Torrance, I guess. But
Right.
Harrison Ford, like, I just kind of want to see that, especially like, I would love to see Harrison Ford even do that now, like just play Psycho, because that could be like I love it when actors who are always known to play nice guys play evil.
Or when he's unhinged, like in say Taxi Driver, it wasn't allowed. He was a recluse. You know what I mean? He was a quieter to himself, that kind of a nut.
Right.
More obsessed than crazy.
Right. It definitely it could be. No, I mean I don't know if that one. I just don't know if I see that one. Like I love Robert De Niro, but like as Jack Torrance, I just don't know if I see it. But to think Stanley Kubrick for his Napoleon movie, I mean, wanted Jack Nicholson to play Napoleon, which that part I just don't see. I just don't see Jack as Napoleon.
And from what I heard, Jack by now is definitely full-time retired. Like, there was a video that was viral of someone asking him recently, "Hey, is there any new movies coming out with you?" He said no.
Well, he can't even see anymore. He's deaf. From what I've heard.
Wait, you said he's deaf. So if he's deaf, then how is he able to answer what that fan said if he heard what they said?
I think well, not like fully deaf, but like I think he can partially hear, But like as from what I've heard, he's blind.
I didn't, from what I saw in that recent video of him, I really don't think that he is. It's because he was signing like an autograph for somebody. So if he can see that, then I really don't think that is true.
Well, to be fair, that was on one of those sites, YouTube sites, Nikki Swift or something like that. So who knows? But sometimes those are true, sometimes those aren't true. Just like the news now.
A lot, yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, there's just, I mean, but no, with Stanley Kubrick, he wanted Jack Nicholson to play Napoleon. Which that part, I love Jack, but I just can't see him as Napoleon. Like at that time,
that's his unmade film, right? That's film he was gonna make but never did.
Right.
Right.
At that time, gosh, as Napoleon, I don't know. I guess I could see Pacino.
That would have been interesting.
Because, well, Pacino's short, so that's one of the reasons. But Pacino at that young, like this would have probably been right after Godfather. So
yeah, and Godfather 2. Yeah, he Al Pacino's weird because I think Al Pacino kind of like Malcolm McDowell kind of changed his acting formula. He kind of changed his method. It's almost like seeing a completely different actor now with Pacino and with Malcolm McDowell did it right after Clockwork Orange. I think that's his one and only great performance. To me, when I see Malcolm McDowell now, he's playing the same role every time you see him.
Right, it's kind of just like Johnny Depp in some ways, because basically everything he's playing is basically a version of Hunter S. Thompson, pretty much.
Yeah, it's yeah.
Oh, so going back to the Napoleon thing, have you two seen the one that just came out with Joaquin Phoenix?
I
Not
have
yet, but I'm really looking forward to it. That's Ridley Scott, right?
right.
Yeah, it's
I have
really Scott. Yeah.
I have not seen it yet. I really want to, although,
Yeah.
man, we're actually finally getting good movies that come out towards the end of the year. I want to see Napoleon. I do want to see. I did not get a chance to see Godzilla minus one.
Oh my god, dude, see it because Godzilla
Yeah,
minus one. That is one of the best movies I've seen this whole entire year. And
that's what I've been
and
hearing.
yeah, and Godzilla minus one proves it like that. People say, "Oh, Godzilla movies can't have compelling human characters." This movie proves that wrong.
If you get a good
Well,
filmmaker and a good screenplay writer and the proper people making it, you can put good character development in any.
yeah.
Exactly. It doesn't matter if it's a Godzilla movie, werewolf movie,
You do it with
whichever.
two scenes. With two scenes, you can make good character development if it's done correctly. I've seen it
Well,
done.
look at Castaway. You literally fell in love with a volleyball.
Right,
Exactly.
Wilson. Yeah,
Wilson!
So I
oh
mean,
Wilson. Yeah,
I don't. So there's, but yeah, no, I really want to see it. Godzilla minus one. I just didn't get a chance to this weekend. Just
Dude, see it.
I know, but just this, it's always Christmas and towards the end of the year is always a busy time. So, but
right.
um, I I want to see. I do want to see. I want to see Napoleon. Even
To be
Godzilla.
honest, I saw Napoleon, and look, if people like the movie, that's fine. But I'm just being really honest with you. I thought Napoleon was pretty boring.
Well,
And I'm just being honest.
well, I seem to like those type of movies. That like my favorite film genre is the Hollywood epic. So I mean, if you saw the list of, the top 500, a lot of those were big, grand movies. I mean, I pretty much named every Hollywood epic. From the original Ben Hur to the new Dune. So I like those type of movies. The movies that it's like, hey, yeah, we're doing this. Because and that's the other thing too. Look, look at like Cleopatra. That Fox risked their entire budget of the studio to make that movie, and it was a flop.
Ouch.
But now it's
But
classic.
yeah, yeah, it is. And now they're talking to now. It's interesting now because they're talking about remaking that.
And
Even though
which
that
movie
was
is this again?
Cleopatra.
Who are they wanting to play Cleopatra? Do you know?
Um, Last I heard was Gal Gadot.
Because that's pretty big shoes to fill, man. With Elizabeth Taylor,
Yeah, I'll say
especially if that's
I'll tell you who I wouldn't if it was me who I would get is Cleopatra. Not I wouldn't get Gal Gadot or anything. Now, this would be she's hasn't really proven herself much as an actress, but this would definitely give her a chance to prove herself. I actually think Selena Gomez would be a good Cleopatra because I mean, I'm not gonna lie, she's beautiful enough.
And why did the original movie bomb?
I think just around that time, you had Ben Hur, Spartacus, El Cid. You
The
had a Hollywood
Commandments.
epic. You had a Hollywood epic come out like every week or so. I mean, even the Italians had it with the Peplum movies. I just think it was oversaturation. That's why probably a lot of the superhero movies are flopping now. Oversaturation.
Exactly. That and lazy script writing and lazy screenplay writing. Yes,
Yes,
they try to
and
make everything some kind of a one-line joke. You can't save the world without joking around and have your pants fall off. It's fucking ridiculous.
well, and then there's also appeasing the ESG score. So,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it's, that's one of the reasons why, it's flopping is people are getting tired of the superhero movies. And that's why Cleopatra flopped, is because, but who knows? Maybe at least one of the superhero movies that came out after Endgame, who knows? Only time will tell. One of them will, they'll become classics. Who knows?
Hopefully one of them is just, you know what I mean? Like I thought, I don't like what's his name, but I thought the Flash was better than what people acted like it was, at least.
Yeah, and to be fair, I can see why that bombed. Not so much because of the quality, but because of Ezra Miller, though.
Yeah, and you get two of them in there, so people that don't like him, and I can't stand him, but two of him in there, I was able to tolerate it because you had Michael Keaton coming back. That was cool. I like that Supergirl. I think she's underrated. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well,
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, the only reason why that I saw the movie was just so that I could see
that's
Michael
a little
back,
too long.
because he is my all-time favorite actor to play Batman, and I was so pissed how at the end they killed him off.
Well, Michael Keaton, I think a lot of fans do agree. I'll say most fans, because there are some fans that don't. But Michael Keaton is still the best Batman.
Yeah, and he picked it right back up, right where he left off, man. Great job by him. He felt just like he did in '89. To me, just older.
Right. Michael Keaton.
He's come a long way from Mr. Moon, man.
Well, he's a very underrated actor.
He is. He almost got stuck in that Mr. Mom kind of movie. I like Mr. Mom, but he almost got stuck in that rut, man, until he started doing shit like Clean and Sober and shit like that.
Right. He's a very underrated actor, and I'm happy that he's kind of had a bit of a resurgence a little bit since Birdman. Like, it's not like a big comeback, but more of a resurgence. And
he can just do anything. It seems like he can play anything. He's proven it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's a great performer. And I didn't see. I mean, I'll probably see the Flash at some point, but out of curiosity, it got the better. I mean, I actually did see the new Indiana Jones because it came out on Disney Plus, and it was not as bad as people were saying it is, but I think I would still give it a 2 out of 5. Mainly because the lead girl sidekick. Okay, I'm not being I just found her. I'm gonna get a lot of crap for this one. Saying this, I thought her British accent was very annoying. Because she had that very thick woman British accent that's just not good to the ears. And I know that if they casted another person in that part, I think I would have been like, it's not good, but I can at least tolerate it. I just found her very annoying. Was the problem? So
I heard they tried to go too woke on it too. Is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, they did, and I want to stress that woke itself by definition is a good thing because
it's being abused by people like Brie Larson and people like that. That's not woke. That's man hating.
Yes, exactly. Because the dictionary definition of woke is culturally aware. That is good thing. But with all good things, you can use it for evil.
Exactly. And every single time it happens. Every single time they take a great idea, something that could be world changing in a good way, and they turn it into a bunch of hate. And that's the problem with it.
Mm-hmm. Well,
the whole thing was to make women equal with the men in these. And instead of doing that, people like Brie Larson decide to step over them and become even better. And that wasn't the whole idea of it.
Well, look at Alien for an example. That part was originally meant to be a man, but then they just decided let's make it a woman. and there's no really defining trait that it could, it could be a woman doing that part. It's just a part. I mean, the only thing that maybe is a little bit that I know some feminists complained about is that she had to strip down to her underwear, but
look, man, she did something. Ridley Scott and Sigourney Weaver did something really important and really cool with that. They made her strong. They made her that great final girl, one of the best ever. But then they kept her a woman, and they kept her vulnerable at the same time.
yeah, and that's one of the reasons. And then look at it this way: then after that, then every final girl in horror movies kind of followed that, and there's I mean, I think there's one of the reasons why we still remember, Linda Hamilton, Amy Steele, even
Right.
some of the other ones, because, but remember, Jennifer Lawrence was the first female action star, right? Totally.
Yeah, totally. And and there's a reason why people remember Jamie Lee Curtis. Like, there's a reason why people remember Nave Campbell and Heather Langenkamp.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right, because you actually, it's one of the things that, like, Eric, I'm gonna have to say this. I actually do respect about your film professor. He actually taught you how to write a proper screenplay, not a formulaic screenplay where this. Because some of the greatest screenplays in the world broke the rules. Rocky, for instance. That if you actually look at the formula for a screenplay, Rocky is supposed to be it's basically a bad screenplay if you look at the formulaic, because like the action doesn't happen till page 50. But look at what they did with Rocky. So there, one of the greatest expressions, some rules are meant to be broken. So,
definitely, yeah.
So I'm going to at least say I appreciate that about your film professor who taught you film in your college.
Yeah,
he actually taught you.
Yeah, and the thing that really shocked me about my film professor, everybody in the film community constantly praises Citizen Kane as the greatest movie ever made. But then along comes my film history professor who has the balls to say that he didn't think it was a very good movie.
I don't think. I think it is.
And now, certainly, of course, I'm not trying to dog on him. It's because that if that's his opinion, then that's fine. But I'm just saying, man, in the film community, he has balls to say that.
I think A Touch of Evil is a better made movie than Citizen Kane.
Yeah, well, I don't think Citizen Kane is the greatest movie of all time. What I would say is greatest movie of all time. I think it should be I think honestly, greatest movie of all time should not be the greatest technique movie ever made. It should be the greatest movie that honestly the public decides is the greatest movie of all time. And
yes.
if you kind of look at that way of thinking, I would make a point to say that the greatest movie of all time by the public standards is King Kong, the original. Because that movie has inspired so many filmmakers. I mean, Eric, I would say, Eric, it inspired you to become it was probably one of the movies that inspired you to become a filmmaker.
That movie,
it was, but
that movie created
so with Jaws.
Ray Harryhausen. Without that movie, you don't have Ray Harryhausen. You know what I mean? That's why you have Ray Harryhausen, is because of King Kong. It inspired.
Well, you wouldn't have Peter Jackson without it.
Right.
You wouldn't have. I mean, Steven Spielberg has said that that's an influence on him. I mean, it inspired so many people.
Very first Scream Queen was in King Kong.
Fay Wray.
Yeah, Fay Wray, baby.
She is fucking excellent in that. She has still to this day has the best scream I've ever heard.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
And from what I saw, when they were filming Jurassic Park, Fay Wray actually did visit the set. I mean, isn't that rather fitting?
Well, this is some interesting trivia that not a lot of people know. Fay Ray was going to be the original old. She was going to be Old Rose in Titanic. She was the original choice.
Yeah, I heard that, and she said why. Well, sorry, and she said no. Why?
She was concerned because she hadn't acted in a long time, but she really wanted to do it because
I like their pick though. I like their pick.
Gloria Stewart.
Because she was in the original Invisible Man. She was in the Old Dark House. Yeah, hell yeah.
Yep.
I'm gonna have to. I've got a stream at 10:30. You guys. I thought that
All right,
I had cleared enough time. Sorry
we'll
about
wrap.
that.
Well, we can wrap this up. But hey,
right.
go subscribe to Goreaphope. I'm sure most of you are already subscribed to him. He's a cool guy.
I didn't get a chance to advertise because I was really busy today, but I'm going to share this out as soon as my stream's done. I'm going to share it out to all my people and everything so they can check it out.
All right, well there you go. But no, he's a cool YouTuber, and if you like my sense of humor, check out him because we have the same sense of humor, and it's actually amazing we get along so well because usually I don't get along with people who do have my sense of humor. So, see ya. All right, see you.
All right. Thank you so much.
All right,
yeah,
bye.
take it easy. Nice to meet you. Have a good day.
Yeah, of course.